What is happening, man? Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you.
Man, reaching out, I was like, hey, grab Jon. I said, we need to talk kind of like team dynamics and teams now and teams into the future. And it's just really awesome to see. I mean, obviously, been able to ride with you guys for a long, long time. And looking at how y'all are built, how you're built now, making the adjustments moving, into the future. I think it's just really important because it's going to be harder and harder, I believe, as we start to see the emergence of even the bigger teams. I mean, that's the direction you guys are going. Obviously at EXP, number one in Ohio, on unit and volume, or just units? Both. So being able to navigate those waters, starting to shift the balance from just being all buy side to starting to incorporate, more on the listing side. And, you guys are good, really good at a handful of things, and then just trying to, be better at other things and things that you're feeling is going to be really critical moving into the future as we unpack, the components of building a team for the future. And like I was saying, I have this, I don't know, gut feeling, but it's going to be harder and harder for solo agents to be able to navigate the waters. Some type of structure, even if you're an agent that's just focused on production, you're still going to have to create some leverage. You're going to have to, really reinvest into some additional resources. There is going to have to be some human investment, either from a fractional, component, but I'm really interested to see, how the components really align, either production or full on team, with your, goal of getting out of production and seeing really what that looks like. So I'm excited for you to jump in, brother.
Yeah. And, it's been, I guess, this month is the start of the 14th year that I've been with Ryan.
Oh, wow.
So I graduated college in March of 2011, and I started with him in April as his admin. And so, yeah, I mean, started for the 14th year, but
God, you're a good human for sticking out 14 years with Ryan.
But I say that because my first conference was Kinder Reese in 2011.
Yeah,
I think it was October, and I didn't know anything. I was 22 years old, and so I was just sitting up on stage and seeing you up there on stage, and Jay and Mike, and all of the guest speakers and things like that. And so now it's always humbling when I get and a privilege when I get to jump on here with you, because I was literally in the crowd, like, man, like, I wish I could be up on stage, right? And so, what we're going to talk about today is really, on the backs of what you guys built with Kinder Reese and NAEA, and really just kind of following your guys' roadmap, and this topic of the 7 components of building a team has really come into my mind, because Ryan and I are thinking about, how can you build something that has, or could you create a guarantee to get an agent up to 100 transactions, right? Like, what does that system look like? And I think that's one of the things that you guys always kind of taught us, and just kind of how we look at things is like a franchise model, right? Like, if anything that we do in our team, can it be duplicatable, and can we get predictable results?
Right.
And if we can't do it, then we don't do it, right? If we can't hit those 2 things, then we don't do it. And so the 100 transaction guarantee is broken down, I think, into these 7 components. And I think it's the 7 components that, we built our team to go from just Ryan and I to, I think we're at 52 agents right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And
even you look back, even 18, 24 months ago, we weren't even half of that.
Yeah, we were we've hit these stages in agent count where we just kind of plateau and we just couldn't, get over that hump. So for a hot minute there, we were stuck at 10 agents. That was before EXP. Then we got to a point where we got up to like that 20, 25 number and we just couldn't get over that hump. Then we got up to 35 and then, we'd have 8 leave, right. And take us back down and build it back up. And so, that's been one of the things that we've been focusing on a little bit more. But I kind of just wanted to break down the components with you and ping pong back and forth and just get your thoughts. But also I'm reading the book Good to Great. And so this topic kind of goes, in line with that book. But the number one thing I think when building a team is what I call defining your sandbox. And the sandbox is how do you want to do business? I'm a believer that I don't necessarily care what it is. I think it all works, but you have to define your sandbox. And sandboxes have walls, right? It's not just spread out all over the place. And so if that is, I want to build a team and all we do are open houses and that's what we're going to rock with. Okay, great. Then who are those agents that I need to go out to fit into that sandbox, right? Or what, based off of these other components that we're going to talk about, that's going to be the thing that drives our decisions and what we do. If you want to go and do it based off of prospecting, all right, maybe it's expired, it's canceled, right? That's a different sandbox. If you want to do it only through your sphere of influence, that's a different sandbox. Now, there are going to be some things that bleed in because, I believe in having 2 to 3 different business pillars. So you can't just be all in on just one thing within that sandbox, but your sandbox and how you think about building the team or your business, there should be some, alignment there, right? It's not like we're just going to do leads, right? Okay, leads is one thing, but what else goes in addition to that? And so I think when we're talking about sandbox, it's like, how do we want to build the business?
Yeah. What do you want to play and who do you want to serve? And are you incorporating that component into it as well? Are you incorporating the starving audience in the marketplace? And really looking at, okay, where is the real opportunity? And I mean, you've been 13, 14 years, so I mean you're back 2011. It's a weird run, 2011, 2012 time frame, kind of running through there. I mean, especially where you're at, and I mean you're in a market that's just on fire, right? And continuing to grow and catch fire. Almost feels like kind of what we were going through in Texas back in, the 14, 15 timeframe with just everything that was emerging. And it was always fun to see, right? How many cranes were up in the air. We could tell, what was happening. There's a lot of cranes that are up in the air during that time. So I think really, really defining that, and, you turned me on, I think, to might be one of the most important podcast to ever listen to from a marketing perspective, and to really help with this first component here, defining your sandbox, with the Rory Vaden when he was on, when Ed had him on the podcast a couple of years ago now. But the one thing that always kind of rings with the define your sandbox comes from that conversation. And he said, you're best equipped to serve the person that you once were.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that podcast was amazing. I that's one I go back to from time to time just to kind of keep fresh of mind. But even the book Good to Great, right? It's the hedgehog concept, and I know you bring that up is when you are able to define the way that you want to build the business, there's just clarity, right? And then it's what am I the best in the world at? And I tell agents, like, our team isn't for everyone, but I know who our team is for.
Yeah.
And that's who I focus on. It's not that I can't help you if you want to go and build your business through community events or, past client events and all of those things. I can teach you the principles and the concepts and the things that you need to do. But from a team standpoint, that's not our ideal agent. That's not what we are the best in the world at, right? And I think that's where a lot of agents and team leaders get caught of they're trying to fit round pegs and square holes. And it just doesn't always work like that. Right. And I had a conversation with one of my coaching clients yesterday. He's like, I'm trying to get so-and-so to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm trying to get this other person to do, I'm like, you're putting them in positions that they don't want to be in. They're not the best in the world at those things. And so as a leader of running a team, your job is to put them in the positions where they're going to win. And then it's your job to make sure that there's enough opportunities to fill their plate. And so I think just defining that sandbox, bringing clarity. You talk about clarity all the time. What are you the best in the world at? Whatever you want to think about during this exercise. And it's funny because we are a team that believes in leads, but our number one source of business is our sphere of influence.
That's wild. As many damn leads as you guys generate, because you guys don't have a traffic problem.
And some of that is just because of, the nature of how many agents we have and, that kind of stuff that comes in. But I think sometimes, right, when you're thinking about those 2 to 3 business pillars, just make sure that they're in alignment of how you want to build your team. Yeah. If you're a leads team, right, you're probably going to stick into that leads category. And what's going to happen is, as we continue to go through this, one of the components is going to help you scale that sandbox.
Right.
So that's the first one. The second one is admin. I mean, you could lump this into support, whatever you want. I personally believe that there's a difference between admin and TCs. And I think when you're taking that next step to build a team, it's getting all of those things off the plate that you're not good at. Right.
So where would you say that person's scope would start and stop? Or would it just be essentially, these are all the things that I suck at, here you go, right? I was thinking about this over the weekend, just kind of evolution and growth. And like, we talk about this all the time. And I love your kind of perspective, because you look at time and where you can allocate as, support first, TC first, like what is that first kind of component in with, obviously unlocking the global workforce in 2021 timeframe, that put more labor dollar, right? We could allocate our budget, our labor dollar, stay within the salary cap a lot better. But now, even with the emergence and especially, tools like Hoozy, and being able to utilize Hoozy to really maybe be that first catch-all. I was thinking, who did this the best? Kinder. He had 3 admin before he hired his first buyer's agent, and essentially he just hired somebody to just do all the stuff that he didn't like doing. And then they got too busy, so he hired another one. Then they got too busy, so he just hired another one. And to your point, those 2 things right there got him to, the first year that he hired his first buyer's agent, when Reedy came on, without going line item by line item, he probably did about 160 deals all by himself that year. They did 221, but they didn't come on board till the second half of the year. And again, he got too busy. He was tired. He had too many leads. He had too many buyers. So he had to start handing them off, is why he brought the buyer's agent in. And so just those 2 things, right? The first 2 components, you can get to 100 units.
And I think that's defining the sandbox, right? Because I think when Jay was building it, it was expireds, canceled, FSBOs, right? All of those things. And so like his sandbox, he needed more of that admin type role, right? Like for us, it was simply Ryan just hated paperwork, right? Yeah. Like, and back then, obviously 2011, and again, we can talk about this depending on how you guys want to build your business, but back then we were still faxing things. So like paperwork was a lot harder to do. I mean, you had to physically, scan documents, get hand signatures, right? So
time. It took more time.
100%. Yeah. Time. Right. And so like, when you're running around doing listing heavy type activity, right, from MLS entry to, signatures to addendums to price reduction addendums, like all of those things that you need to do paperwork wise, like admin was the right thing. But if your sandbox is not, lead focused like that, well, maybe it's not initially the first hire as an admin. And these are in no order. I'm just listing out 7 components, right? Because I could also argue that in today's world, and I know people don't necessarily agree with me, but in today's world, if you're buyer side heavy, your first hire might be a buyer's agent. because it takes me 20 minutes to write a contract. Now, do I want to do the paperwork? No. Right. But when you're talking about time allocation of showing 4 homes at night versus writing an addendum that takes me 5 minutes and it's all electronic, when we're talking about how what's the best use of our time, that first hire might be initially buyer, showing agent, buyer agent to offload that stuff. So then you can focus on the paperwork stuff. And then your second hire is that admin, TC, whatever you want it to be. And so again, I think there's no right way. I don't think there's a wrong way. It's defining your sandbox and then building it what works best for how you're running your business.
Yeah, I 100%. And, it has evolved so much just with efficiency and technology to where, as you're talking, my mind's going time and energy audit, time and energy audit, time and energy audit. And, for you guys listening in is not familiar with that is, that is Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. That's one of his first exercises, is doing a time and energy audit. And what we're looking for is where to allocate our time that makes us the most amount of money and does not rob us of energy. That's the kind of the quadrant, the 4 quadrants. We're trying to get up into that quadrant, and that quadrant is where we're making the most amount of money and we've got our energy. I mean, Dan Sullivan talks about unique ability, and unique ability and excellent activity. They look the same, except for one gives you energy, one doesn't. And so you've got to, be working yourself into that box to where you can spend more time doing the things that give you energy and that make you the most amount of money.
And I'm not here saying that you are just going to start doing your own paperwork, right? If you're the team lead and all of those things. But when we think about if you are a buy side heavy agent and you're generating a lot of buyer leads, your first thing may be that you need to get that showing agent, because that's going to save you hours every single day and every single week. That will free up time to then go and prospect more, right? Free up time to then handle the paperwork. And then your second hire is that person to handle all the paperwork stuff. Because at the end of the day, as sales professionals and people that perform at a high level, none of us like touching paperwork.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not, paperwork's not best use of our time either. But, the second one is admin support, is the second main component. And, I always say, like, typically we hire fast and we fire slow, but this is the admin and support piece is where you hire slow and you fire fast. So that's number 2. When I think about what allowed our team to grow, it was, we brought in Ashley, and Ashley took care of all of Ryan and I's paperwork stuff. We
had Carla, we had Tracy, right? We had those that allowed us to do the things, right? And to not worry about the shit back there, right? We knew they could handle it.
Yeah, and we can throw it out 7 different, if you're crushing open houses, right? Your support staff may be someone that makes sure that all open house signs are up, right? That your open house, packet is ready to go every single weekend for every single house that you're going to do open houses on, right? Like that may be your support person, because again, you don't want to be driving around town if you're doing 4 open houses a weekend and dropping signs, right? That's not best use of your time. You need to just roll up, know what you're doing, right? And get after it during that time. So defining your sandbox and understanding, what is the right support for what you're looking to build is important. The third thing, coaching. When I think about our team and how we were able to grow, it was Ryan invested in coaching with you guys, and coaching should speed up your success, and it should allow you to avoid a lot of the mistakes that most people make.
Right.
And the caveat to this, I think, is finding coaching that aligns with how you are building your own sandbox. And so, like, for me, I don't necessarily like to teach on things that I don't do myself or that I don't really know. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, we talk about this all the time, Kitchens. It's like real estate's a conversation sport. So it's however you want to make conversations happen is what's going to get you the business. But, if you want to build your business strictly through your sphere of influence. Well, go find coaching that builds businesses strictly through sphere of influence. Sphere of influence. If you want to build your business by prospecting expireds, FSBOs, cancels, well, go find that person that's doing it and that has helped other people do it at that level. And Ryan was with you guys before I joined him, but I'm assuming part of the attraction to him wanting to coach with you guys is because you are actually building a team and running a business. Knowing Ryan and how he thinks now, it literally was, I want to model what you guys are doing in Lawton, Oklahoma.
Right.
And that's all we did. Right. And so I think that's where coaching can come in and really help. But where I see agents struggle is when they try to find or do coaching that's not in alignment with how they want to build their sandbox.
Exactly. Yeah, such a valid point. I think, looking at from the coaching dynamic, look for somebody that either has done it or has the resume of helping other people accomplish, right? It's like, well, I can never coach with you because you never played the sport. Like, listen, like, if that was true, I mean, Tiger would have never had a coach, right? Right. So it's the thing. I mean, into that point, right? Like, do any of his coaches ever win majors? No, right? That's my whole point. It's like, well, I want to win majors. Well, I gotta work with somebody that's only won majors. And it's like, no, but he's helped other people that have won majors. So there's the proof is there. So I think you got to look for some type of track record of success. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they've been in there. And, like the stuff that I coach on applies to small business, any business, right, that you're at, because it's all principle based. And I know who I'm not for. I can coach you on scripts, dialogues, conversion, but you better have that dialed in before we start working together, because we're going to another level into the the chess game and the people game, but in the strategy game. But I love that, to your point. What else should somebody, with this component, obviously alignment to how you're wanting to build your sandbox and to build your business is important. What other factors should people take into consideration when, investing in a coach?
It's funny because every Wednesday morning, I get our EXP people together, our downline, our organization together, and we do a Zoom call. And, Ryan mentioned today that when I joined Ryan at 22 years old, Ryan used the word blind trust, blind faith, of like, I just listened and did whatever he told me to do. And I think that is part of the coaching component, right? Like, if you're investing your hard-earned dollars into a coaching company, you shouldn't fight what they're telling you to do, right? You shouldn't have an ego around what they're trying to tell you to do, because, to your point, they also should have the social proof that it works, right? Maybe not them personally, but their coaching clients, right? And they should be able to give you examples. And I think that's the other component to this. Like, check the ego at the door, right? Like, you're going to coaching for a reason. And are you listening to what they're actually telling you, because they know what is right, because they've coached X number of people to where you want to get to?
Yeah.
And I just think a lot of times we just get in our own way around just that one simple thing. Like, just listen, go do, come back, report, audit, and do it again.
Yeah.
And I find that the agents that, whether it's on my team or agents that I coach or whatever, the agents that just ask questions, listen, do, come back, report, ask questions, listen, do, are the ones that move the needle farther and are faster, because they're not questioning you every single step of the way.
Yeah.
But you have to have that belief system, that trust.
And I think it's okay to get clarity on how come we're doing this. Right.
Sure.
There's some things that, hey, we're just building a behavior. We're building a habit. We're installing a new skill set. We're installing a new capability. But I think, it's good to be curious. I think it's good to understand. And it's like, hey, I'm trusting. And it's like, listen, the dots will connect for you. Just execute on this. you'll see, but we've got to get through this piece. And so I think that's a critical component. You have to be coachable. You have to be open. That's the outcome over ego concept, right? Sometimes their ego won't get in the way is because they want to prove that they're right. And it ain't about being right. It's about getting to right. And I think that's one of the things that if you can grasp a hold of that, you're like, yep, that's right. It's like, I know I'm wrong. It's I know I'm wrong, but I'm trying to be less wrong. And the other factor too, John, is that, we're human beings. So we all have blind spots, every one of us. And I think when you have a great coach, they do a good job at holding up the mirror in the angle that you need, that you can't see, to where you can take a good hard look at the things that are just in our blind spots. And
what's coming, right? Yeah. Like, what's the next section of road look like?
Yeah.
And so I think, it's just so important that like the coaching component of it. I know the years where we didn't do the coaching versus the years that we had the coaching, night and day, of just how we functioned as a team. And again, like I was telling the agent, one of the things that allowed us to grow was when we implemented what you guys were doing with a transaction fee. Like when we first, when I first started with Ryan, we didn't have it. And then, you guys rolled out transaction fee and, buyer presentations and all that kind of stuff. And so when you multiply that over 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400 transactions,
a lot of money.
It's a lot of money that allows you to do. And it's just one simple thing. And you know how many agents have fought me over the years of whether or not they should do it or not. And now look, the law basically says that we have to, or the rules are that we have to, whether you get compensated for it or not is different. But I always told people like that's one of the things that truly allowed us to grow, because we were able to take those dollars and reallocate that into the business to then make the next move. And that was just from a coaching thing, right? Like that was before this was a common thing, right? We're talking 2011, 2012, 2013, when, markets were kind of still crap in some areas, but rebounding, and price points were lower. And, just that one little tweak from you guys is what allowed us to kind of keep reinvesting those dollars.
Yeah.
So I think coaching is a component that you definitely need to have.
1,000%.
Fourth thing, affiliates, partnership. I think about Jay Abrahams. You guys have it in your NAEA archives. He talks about partnerships. I think he says it partner or perish. And when we talk about our sandbox, and I talk about this to team leads and agents that I'm coaching, or if they just ask me questions, not every affiliate is the right affiliate for you.
That's right. That's right.
Even if they are the best affiliate in what they do, they may not be the right one for how you want to do your business.
That's right.
And I just see it all the time with title companies to agents to lenders to agents, whatever it may be. I think you guys have over 80 different affiliates that could be impacted by a real estate transaction, but you really need to find the affiliates that will help you build your business the way that you want to build your business. And where I see agents crash and burn, it's like, a lender comes to them and is like, hey, let's do leads. But the lender's never done leads, right? Or the agent's never done leads, and they partner with a lender that's never done leads. Well, that's a partnership that's not probably going to work. Or title companies that go around saying, hey, you're a newer agent, let's invest money into mailers or pamphlets, or like, that's just not going to work, because as a newer agent, typically you don't have the capital to see that through to win long-term, right? And so you're going to give it 1, 2, 3 months because that's what you have in your bank account, but you're not going to get any results. And so I think your partnerships are important, but building it with the right people. And that would be the second thing that I believe allowed us to initially scale, is we partnered with a lending company that truly ran their business based off of leads.
Yeah.
And so when you had two companies come together with the understanding of lead generation, online lead generation, and the idea of prospecting, dialing, and working together, that's where it allowed us to take the business initially to that next level, because they're bought in on the idea of what we need to do to spend the money to generate the leads. We're bought in on spending the money to generate the leads. And that is what allowed us to scale with opportunity.
100%, man. And what you're saying is connecting the dots there. We agree. We have the same belief system of how we wanted to build our business. The kicker for us was when we started to really understand lifetime value. And once we unlocked that for the way we thought and the way we looked at, our clientele, and understanding that, the whole, what 90% say they would use the same agent, less than 10% actually do. And knowing that one-time first transaction is only, single digit percentage of the overall lifetime value of that particular transaction, that client, that opportunity. And when you step back and you go, okay, this is a buyer coming into the marketplace, and they are, at a certain age, young family. Okay, how long am I going to be in this game, right? How long am I, looking to build a career? Is this a short stint? Is this a hobby? Or is this something that I'm at least committed to, maybe borderline obsessed, that this is going to be my career? Then I think you got to step back and go, okay, there's some real lifetime value here. I'm going to ride over the next 20 years. And what is the average, time that somebody makes a move? 7 to 9 years, kind of depending upon price point and market. And so, 20 years, they're going to make at least one other move, if not two. Where are their kids? Their kids going to be buying homes. Are they well connected? The family, the relationship connections. So you start to look at lifetime value. And when you start to look at the affiliates and the partnerships, you got to make sure that it aligns to what, one, they get the result, but how does the experience that they have throughout the entire transaction, and is it consistent with what we believe and how we operate and how we do things? And you start to piece those people together, right? Because you want a consistent experience. Because at the end of the day, if they have a bad experience with one of those affiliates, who are they going to come pointing the finger at you?
Yep.
Because you probably recommended that person, or that company or that other business to be part of the experience. The biggest lesson for us was on the lending side. We had somebody paying us a pretty good chunk of change to be our preferred lender.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible product. Good kid. Terrible product. Could not in our core push people over there because they had a horrible product. We had another guy come in that was kind of our backup lender, but we started noticing this guy would get everything done. And he could do the deals that nobody else could do. So it's like, man, we don't want to always give you our hard stuff. We want to give you all of our stuff. They came in as an affiliate paying us a third less than what the preferred vendor was. And we let the preferred vendor go. Took a third less money, but we had a better partner. We had a better experience, and we had more faith that the deal was going to get done if it got into his hands. So that's a great lesson. And I love that as a critical component, because you can't do it. You got to align with the right people. You got to build the right relationships. That's a win-win for everybody. And so, it's not about just handing the business. There has to be something in return to make that also a good partnership.
Yeah. And I even say, your relationship should be easy then, right? With those partners. And when I meet with someone, one of my criteria is, look, I personally can work with a lot of different people because of, my personality. I'm a little bit more chill, laid back, all of those things. But I said, I have to keep in mind, I got 52 other agents that I also have to, make sure that these partnerships are correct. And so one of the things I always say is, like, if you create phone calls that I have to take from my agents of, like, so-and-so's not answering the phone, so-and-so's not getting back to me, so-and-so this, so-and-so that, so-and-so, that is a problem for me, right? As one of the leaders of the team. And so it's not even just about dollars invested. Like you said, it's not about product all the time. It's how are we going to make this partnership work for all of us? Because it's, as a leader, and again, we're talking about building a team. It's not just you. You got to think about all of your agents and what that partnership looks like. And there's plenty of people out there. There's plenty of roofing companies out there. There's plenty of lenders out there. There's plenty of home warranty reps, right? You just got to find the one that is in alignment with how you want to grow. We left our one title company simply because they said they didn't want to grow with us. Cool. Hey, like, it was great doing business with you for 5-6 years, whatever it was. But we're trying to go here. You want to stay here. It just doesn't work. Had a great relationships and all those things, but we needed to make a pivot to get to that next step, and find that next partner that was willing to align with us to get us to that next step.
Yeah, I love that. And the easiest way that I found is, once you have your vision laid out, your core values, why your company exists, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal, where do you want to be in 5-10 years, where do you want to be in 3 years, what are you doing this year? It's easy to then show them, this is where we're going, this is our vision, this is what we're wanting to accomplish, and we're looking for affiliates and partners that want to get on board and be a part of this journey with us. That's the easiest way to have the conversation. So that's, not only, the strategic plan is not only a living document and a guiding light for you, but it's also a way that you can show people where you're going and see if they want to be a part of that.
100%. Number 5, CRM. And obviously, in today's world, there's 17,000 different CRMs that you guys can choose from. But I think that's also the problem. When agents come to me like, what CRM do you use? Boomtown, right? Now, obviously, who knows what's going to happen with Boomtown over the years, but as a leader, your job is also to bring consistency. And sometimes that is not just in your message, but in the tools and things that you utilize. And so for us, everyone should have a CRM. I mean, if you're bouncing around from CRM to CRM to CRM to CRM, or you're only choosing the cheap CRMs because that's what, you think you can afford, I would just encourage you that you do your due diligence and you pick a CRM and you run with it. And if you can't afford it, right, that's where you go back to your affiliates, make something work, right? Like, find a partnership where, they can help offset some of those expenses or something. But we all should have a CRM. I don't care if you build your business by your sphere of influence. Like, as a leader, as a team leader, you can't just operate out of your head. And it's not just you. You have to think about, okay, what is that agent that I'm bringing to my team maybe from 4 years from now, right? Like, what system do they need to have in place? What are we going to use? And, I think about Ryan and I's journey. Ryan's never been in Boomtown as an agent, right? Like, because he's been out of production since, I think, 2015. When I joined him, he was selling off REOs. And so, like, his was very seller focused. He didn't do buy side business. I did all of the buy side business for the first 3 years of my career. So I was in Boomtown. But Ryan believed, and this is the other piece to this, Ryan believed in the idea that we needed a strong CRM.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't want to use the word preached, but that was, we've always had conversations of, you got to be in your CRM every single day, right? That would be something like you talk to me about every single day. Like,
every day.
Right, check your leads, right? Make your dials, like, be in your CRM.
Who are you touching? Who are you reaching out to? Who are you engaging every day?
And I just see, team leads up and coming or agents, they just bounce back and forth to CRM, and they're trying to find the perfect one. There is no perfect one. Like, you got to find the one that has the components that you are actually going to use, and then roll with it.
That's it. The best CRM is the one you'll use, the one you'll be in every day, the one you'll touch, the one that feels good to you, the one you like looking at. Boomtown was sexy, right? I think we would have stuck with Boomtown. We were just at a point to where Greer just didn't want to play ball, and Dwayne did. And so that's why, we were day ones with Commissions Inc. and, an integral part of Commissions Inc. being built. I mean, when they were in the massive growth phase, we were 25% of their client base was directly from, our affiliation, and we learned to love it. Right. But we also gave feedback, and they improved upon it based upon what we wanted to see and what we liked. And, I think if Tiger Leads would have still been around, we would have stuck with Tiger Leads for forever. But to your point, you find one that you like and you'll use, that works, that you'll actually get in and do something with, I think is key.
And here's the thing. It goes back to what I started off with. It's got to be able to duplicate and bring predictable results. And so when we came to EXP, it was, okay, do we get rid of Boomtown, go to KV Core, and it's going to save Ryan, a couple $1,000s a month? Or do we go with the thing that we've rocked with for the last 7 years that I can teach any agent that comes and joins our team over the next 5, 10, 15 years, because I already know it like the back of my hand, and I can get the agents up and running faster, right? It's not that I wouldn't be able to pick up a new CRM. They're all the same, right? Like if you've been in this business and you've operated out CRM, they're, at the end of the day, they're pretty similar. But it came back to, no, like this is kind of like the status quo of our team, and this is one of the main pillars systems that we use, and it's just easier for us to implement a new agent coming in, and we don't have to, come up with a new onboarding every single time.
Yeah, I love it.
Number 6, presentations. And this is one where, buyer seller presentations, I think a lot of times as teams, the team leader is still in production, and, they don't need the presentations, but what they fail to remember is that their agents do. And then as I was thinking through this, and as Ryan and I are I can't really announce it because we're officially announcing it next week, and you kind of know a little bit behind the scenes, but as we're building out this other opportunity and vertical, it's not, the presentations aren't necessarily for your best salesperson. They're actually for your worst salesperson.
Right.
But we all should be using them every single time. Because again, we want to be able to duplicate it from one agent to the next, and we want to be able to get predictable results. And so if your worst sales agent has a fire buyer consultation presentation that they can do, and a, badass listing presentation that they can follow, they're going to be the ones that need it the most, right? Your number 1 salesperson, your number 2 salesperson, right? They may have this that they fall back to, but they don't really need it. And I think as team leads, especially with the ones that are still in production, they don't have a system in place around listing presentations and buyer presentations when they're talking about building their team. It's just like, oh, here, shadow me. Here's how I do it. And what I learned is, early in my career, Ryan has the gift of being able to talk, right? Like he can talk to anyone, and he can talk himself into things and out of things. And, he just has that natural ability. And I caught myself early on trying to mimic him. And so if it was, hey, John, just shadow me, this is what I do, I would have failed. And so because of my personality, I needed more of the structure of a presentation, right? Something that I could just follow, because I didn't necessarily have the natural ability to be able to BS my way. And I use the word BS, but BS my way in and out of conversations to build a relationship with someone, and that's not a bad thing. It's just, if you are operating as just shadow me and do what I do, your agents aren't you. Right. They need something to fall back to. And so I think the 6th thing is you have to have presentations.
It is, man. It's about understanding you're trying to get, somebody from A to B, right? That's the whole thing. And, Belfort has one of the best sales training that have ever gone through. And it's all about that. It's all about taking, your opportunity, your prospect, to where you want them to go. And so in real estate, like with a motivated seller, you want to take them to list the property, but list it and position it in the market that it's actually going to sell, and it's going to sell relatively quick, so we can turn that money. And you've got to have a consistent, predictable, duplicatable process, because you're going to get thrown off the line, right? That's what he calls, it's the straight line concept. And you're trying to straight line moving from A to B, in the best of a linear path as possible, but you're going to get thrown off. You're going to get derailed. Great presentation brings you right back to the line and keeps things moving. And, if you ever have a desire to get out of production, like Ryan and yourself have been able to, you got to have a process that they can follow. Creates a consistent experience as well. That was the other thing, is that, when you have the about me presentation, look at me, that's not duplicatable for anybody to go use to be able to have those high conversion rates. But it's inconsistent in the experience, kills lifetime value. So you got to have a predictable, consistent system that will build lifetime value.
Yeah. And again, it's you have to think about that agent that you bring on 5 years from now. Can you just plug them right in? Like, do you actually have systems in place around this to where you're not having to stop to do everything in order for them to have success? One of our newer agents, normally I like to be, or I will help our agents on the first, 2-3 buyer presentations that they do with a client, right? And normally I operate as like, hey, first one I'll do it, second one we tag team it, third one you do it, and I'll fill in the gaps if I think you're missing things. And I do that on listings, and I do that on buyer presentations. Well, we had one where a new agent came on board and I was out of town. She set a buyer presentation up. I have a recorded video of walking you through how to do it. And because we had a magazine in place, our buyer presentation magazine in place, she was able to, she wasn't 100% comfortable, but she was able to go and do that appointment and get them to sign to agree to work with her. Right. And it's because we had a process to follow.
That's so good.
Get predictable results for that new agent that it's their first time.
And it's so important. I was just kind of looking for this right here, but you look at, there's only, you have to understand, people only buy results. That's it. Right. Even a pack of gum, right? What type of result we want? We want either fresh breath or, just something to occupy us or whatever, right? We buy stuff for a particular result. Well, one of the results that people will buy is a proven process, right? They want a proven process. Like, okay, like give me the framework, give me step by step. I don't want to have to overthink this. If it's already been done, I don't want to have to recreate it. Just give me a system I can plug into. That's one of the things people buy.
Yeah, for sure. And it just brings confidence to your agents as well, right? Because as they get those,
you that they have a system that they can go execute.
Yeah, and them too, right? Because when they see that win, right? When they do that buyer consultation or they do that listing consultation, they get that win, right? Now they have that belief system around, right, that process. So number 6 is presentations. And again, it's one of those things as salespeople, typically we don't like doing those things, right? We don't like taking the time to build them out. That's where like your admin support team can come in, right? Maybe you pass some of that stuff off and you build that stuff out. And then number 7, and this was one that, it took us 7-ish years to really learn, is recruiting. And Ryan and I, we share it all the time. Zillow flew us out to their New York headquarters when they're, I think this was pre-flex. And we met a broker owner out there at Remax from Brooklyn. I think it was from Brooklyn. And he just said, you guys have to recruit more. Yeah. And I don't know what it was, right? Like it was just, who knows what it was, but from that moment on, we just came back and we said, okay, we're going to build. Prior to that, it was always like, we want 10 agents to sell 25 to 35 homes and we're going to sell 300 homes that way. Right.
Unicorns.
And it was always pounding our head against the wall because we wanted it more than what they wanted it for. And now looking, at what we do now, it's kind of like when I said, like, you just got to listen to your coach. Like, brokerage models work because they work. Like, Caldwell Banker is not a brokerage of just 100 agents and selling a shit ton of houses. You need bodies, right? You need head count. And so it's like, we can fight it all we want. There are a few rarities of smaller teams performing at a high level. Like, don't get me wrong, like it is possible.
Yeah.
But I think for the majority, it is, you have to go out and you have to find agents to bring on board. And the way that I explain this to people that want to challenge me on it is, I'm like, okay, you sell real estate, right? Yes, I sell real estate. Okay, well, how many deals are you going to get out of a database of just 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people? Well, do you think you would get more deals out of that database if that was 10,000 people? So, like, why do you think your job as a real estate agent is to generate more leads, right? Yes. Okay, well, as a team lead, your job is to go and find more people, because there's going to be turnover, right? There's going to be, and that's where we got caught, right? I call it the team quicksand. I think if you're between that 7 agent to 12-ish agent headcount, you're in quicksand.
Yeah,
You're gonna have some years where, like, you're gonna have 12, but then what's gonna happen is your top 2, 3, 4 agents are gonna leave, and that drops you down to 8.
And they're probably going to leave together and form their own team together.
100%.
And so, if you want to build the team of 10 agents doing 20, 25 deals, then you need 50 agents, 60 agents to get those 10. And so it's all about it. One way to think about this too, John, what goes back to 2 math metrics that matter the most in any business: customer acquisition cost, lifetime value. And I was running this exercise with a client at the beginning of the week, and he's got several different business units, right? Different businesses and things that he's doing. And I said, which one of these has the highest ratio of customer acquisition to lifetime value? And so we were just going through the exercise, and I said, how much a year does an agent pay you on average? Let's say 50,000 a year is what the math was. So great. What does it cost you to acquire that agent that's going to do 50,000 a year for you? He said, like, actual dollars, not much. A little bit of time. I said, okay. So if you put a dollar amount to your time, let's say you're worth, your time's worth $1,000 an hour. You got 5 hours, 5,000. That's super high too. But just for simplicity's sake, 50,000 in year 1. I said, how many years do they typically stay with you on average? Average 3.5. So you make 150 to 175,000 off of a high-end $5,000 investment. I said, would you not be trading $5,000 every day to bring in 175,000 over the next 3 years? Right? That's how you have to think about it.
Yeah.
The one thing that we never nailed in the brokerage in Lawton, we never nailed it. We never nailed a consistent recruiting process. That's the one thing that we did not have. Like, if you were going to put us on a failure, we failed at recruiting process for agents in our brokerage. And if we could go back, that would be the one thing that we would have given more attention to.
Yeah. And, we had a couple things along the years where, we had a husband and wife team and this is partly why we came to EXP, because the model solves for some of these problems. But, we had 42 transactions walk out the door when they decided to leave. Mm-hmm. That hurts when you only have 8 agents, right? Yeah. And team leads trying to get out of production and, all of those things. 2021, end of 2021, we had almost 100 transactions walk out the door.
Yeah.
Number 1 agent left, number 3 agent left, took a couple agents with them. Yeah. We didn't skip a beat though, right? Because we knew, hey, our job is, I think we dipped down to 20 some agents at the time. Cool. All right, let's get back up to 30. Mm-hmm. 2023, we had 30 to 35 transactions go out the door. 2024, we had 30 transactions go out the door, right? Because those agents left our team to go build their own thing. And so when you think about that, if we would have just stayed small, losing 30 transactions a year is big. Most people can't handle 100 transactions going out the door. That would they would crumble. Crush business. They'd have to relook at how they do business. And I think the reality of it is that
if you do have a true desire to escape production, the only way to do it is through increase of headcount, or you start another side hustle that ultimately is generating enough revenue for you to continue to live the life that you have. That's the only two things that I've ever seen anybody escape production, is they have another endeavor that they use this to catapult them to, or they use it to unlock, additional revenue streams through investments in real estate, or they have a big ass team that takes over production that they can get. That's really about the only three ways to escape production. Or you just bail, right? You just hit the ejector button.
Yeah. And this goes back to your sandbox, right? I mean, if you want high performing agents, then you're going to lose the split game, right? And at some point it's going to be an ego game, right? And they're going to leave anyways. And so it's like, okay, is that the sandbox that I want to play in? Right. And that's what we just have to keep asking ourselves as we kind of go through these iterations and all these things. Is this the sandbox that we want to play in? Right. Kitchens, you told me one time, it's like, problems don't go away. Like every time we make a move, we think we're solving for a problem, but you've always said problems don't go away. They just change. What problems do you want to solve?
There's always problems to solve. I would just rather you can solve, $100 problems, or you can solve $1 million problems. What type of problems do you want to solve? You're better off solving bigger problems. So, brother, this has been fantastic. I couldn't agree with you more, man. These are great 7 components into truly building a team now and a team into the future. It really gives that foundation, right? It's the Bible verse, Matthew, build on solid foundation or build on sand. And there's a lot of agents building something they think is on solid foundation, but it really is on sand. And these 7 components right here, man, give you a really solid foundation to be able to grow now and into the future.
Yeah, and I think there's an 8th one, but I think that is a certain team level iteration, and I think where our industry is going will be added. So,
well, stay tuned for that one. Stay tuned for that one. I love it.
Maybe we can talk about that one different time.
I love it. Brother, I appreciate you. Fantastic. Always great chopping it up with you. And you guys out there, if you really want to look at, these components in action, you want to really see it in it's awesome. If you really want to see it, connect with Jon. Like I said, they're the number one team for units and volume in the state of Ohio for EXP. And not slowing down. We're actually putting gas to that fire.
Working on it.
Yes, sir.
Working on it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on.
See you, bro. See you guys. Thanks.